So, if you're in the trucking game, you already know that success isn't just about what happens behind the wheel, right? It's really about protecting your assets, your clients, and yeah, your bottom line. Today, we are diving deep into a huge piece of that puzzle: motor truck cargo insurance. I want you to just picture this for a second. You're hauling a really high value load, and then out of nowhere, something goes wrong, and 100 grand worth of goods are, well, they're just gone. What happens then? That one question right there is exactly why we need to talk about this. Okay, here's our game plan for this explainer. We're going to start with the absolute basics, then get into why you seriously need this stuff. We'll look at how it works in the real world, break down the nitty-gritty of what's covered and what's not, and then we'll wrap up with how you can pick the perfect policy for your business. All right, first things first. Let's break down exactly what we're talking about. What is cargo insurance? Honestly, the best way to think about it is like your financial safety net while you're out there on the road. See, at its very core, motor truck cargo insurance is designed to protect one thing and one thing only: the freight you're hauling. So if those goods get damaged, or they go missing, or maybe they get stolen while they're in your truck, this insurance is what's going to cover that financial loss. And this is the part you really got to hear. It's not about protecting your truck. It's about protecting the cargo inside it. I mean, without this coverage, you could be personally on the hook for tens, maybe even hundreds of thousands of dollars. This insurance is literally the shield that stands between your business and a financial hit that could take you out. So, now that we know what it is, let's talk about why this isn't just some nice-to-have option, it's an absolute must. I like to think of these as the four main pillars holding up a strong, reliable trucking business. Okay, first up, for some types of cargo, think hazardous materials, it's actually required by law. Second, it protects your bottom line from a loss that could be catastrophic. Third, and this is a big one, it builds incredible trust. Your clients want to know their stuff is protected. And finally, it handles some enormous potential costs. Just think about it. The average cargo theft in the US can cost way over $250,000. This insurance is your defense against that reality. All right, so how does this insurance actually, spring into action when things go sideways? Let's walk through what happens from the moment of an incident to getting things resolved. Your coverage is going to kick in for a few key reasons. The most obvious one is physical damage from an accident. Another huge one is theft. But it's super important to know that policies often have security requirements, like you have to make sure your trailer is actually locked. But believe me, the risks don't end there. For instance, let's say a crazy storm or a flash flood rolls through and damages your cargo while you're on the move. Yep, your policy is there to cover that loss. And what about a truck fire or a major collision that completely destroys the goods inside? That's exactly when cargo insurance steps in to cover the value of that freight. It even covers stuff that's done on purpose. If somebody vandalizes your truck and wrecks the cargo in the process, that's another risk your policy is built to handle. Let's make this crystal clear. Let's cook up a real-world scenario. Imagine you're hauling a full load of expensive electronics. You're being careful, but somebody else on the road makes a mistake, and boom, there's a collision. The impact just wrecks a huge chunk of the shipment. In a split second, you are looking at a potential loss that could easily climb into the tens of thousands of dollars. For a lot of operators, a hit like that could be the end of their business. But with the right cargo insurance policy, that story has a totally different ending. Instead of you having to face that massive bill all by yourself, the insurance covers the cost of the damaged goods. Your business is protected, your client gets taken care of, and you can get back on the road. That right there, that is the true value of this coverage. Now, here's where things get really interesting. We've got to get into the details. You see, every policy has its limits, and understanding what is and what isn't covered is absolutely essential. So let's make that fine print simple. So usually, a policy will cover a total loss, a partial loss, or damage from things that happen during transport. But it's the exclusions you really have to pay attention to. For example, if your cargo wasn't secured properly, a claim could be denied flat out. The same thing goes for just normal wear and tear or damage that was already there. And a big one is theft that happens because of negligence, like, say, leaving the truck unlocked while you go grab lunch. It's also really important to know that not all cargo is created equal in the eyes of insurance. Most basic policies cover what's called general cargo, things like electronics or clothes. But if you're hauling specialized loads like hazardous materials or refrigerated goods, you're going to need specific add-ons. That's where you hear about reefer insurance for the cold stuff. And for things like artwork or luxury goods, you'll need a high-value policy to make sure you're covered for their full market price. Okay, so with all that in mind, how do you actually go about choosing the right policy for your specific operation? Let's walk through a clear, simple action plan. It's really just a four-step process. First, know exactly what you haul. Is it general? Is it specialized, high value? Second, figure out the coverage limits you need based on what your typical load is worth. Third, you've got to evaluate your risk. Are you driving in areas with high theft rates on particularly dangerous roads? And finally, do not just take the first offer you get. You need to compare quotes from multiple providers who actually specialize in trucking to find the absolute best fit. Look, if there is just one thing you take away from all this, let it be this. Motor truck cargo insurance is not just another line item expense. It is a fundamental tool that shields your business from financial ruin. It builds trust with your clients, and it gives you the peace of mind to just focus on what you do best, driving. At the end of the day, understanding your insurance is all about protecting your livelihood. The whole goal here is to have clarity before a crisis happens, not confusion after it hits. So the only question left to ask is, how well protected are you right now?